And we're back. So, what a palaver, what a palaver. So, got the bike back, well, back together. So you saw in the last video, I had it absolutely in pieces. I had the tanks off, I had the crash bars off, and I was running the cabling for the auxiliary lights and for the USB charger. And I'll be honest with you, it was a little bit of a nightmare. The KTM itself is actually really well put together. I've got to say, it's a really well put together bike, and also quite intuitive and straightforward to work on. What's not straightforward is the heat. I don't have any workshop space or any like a garage that I can go to. So I was out here in the heat and it was like 45 degrees and I was in the shade, but it was still, 40 degrees in the shade, and it was just mind melting, just trying to think of things to do. So it took me a few days to get this whole thing back together, and I had to leave it covered, but it was absolutely covered in dust. So bit of a palaver to get it back together. Let me talk you through what I've done. So I added these lights. So as you can see from my previous video, I managed to get these auxiliary lights, and they're just basically Chinese cheap lights that I wanted to get. But the key thing that I wanted to do is make sure that these were operated by an accessory switch that only turned on when the bike was on. Unfortunately, I found it really hot, so I couldn't find the accessory 2 cabling at the back. I found the fuse box where it says accessory 2. I think I'll have another go, and then I will still run that light so these turn on from the accessory switch. So here's the mountings for the lights. They've got these simple brackets, very easy to fit. They're not the most finished or polished article, but they're good enough. Getting these back on was a bit of a nightmare, but I managed to sort that out, no problem. I put a little bumper accessory here, so in case of a tip over, there's a bit of extra protection, but there's not a lot of space behind the bar to get that bumper in here, so that's ideally where I'd like it. Also, I was considering replacing these bars at a later date, maybe after summer, with a pair that go further up the bike. They go up the side, but also join together in the middle, so that there's a bit of a more substantial protection. So the weight is not just on these pinch points here, on these mountings. It's actually like a clamshell type of affair. So I was going to go for one of those, but yeah, so far so good. You can see this side of the bar is still quite close. I did try to hammer out that mounting point down here to make it straighter. I didn't do a great job. I kind of need a vise and a big hammer, but with the tools that I had, I managed to like straighten that out a bit, and it's a lot nicer. But I'm sure if this tips over, that might touch again, so something to look out for in the future. I've tied up all the electrics behind here. The thing that I found most challenging on the bike was, I had no idea, but the battery is right under there, and I don't know what they were thinking to put the battery under there, because surely wading across water, rivers or anything, that's going to become an issue. But that's where it is. I believe I could relocate the battery under the seat and put a lithium battery in there, like a really lightweight small one, and that would do the job and do better than that. But I'd also have to move the regular rectifier. Yeah, the rectifier, I'd have to move that and the fuse box from under here up in there as well, potentially, just so that it's all closer together. Not sure how I'm going to accomplish that, but that's something to research. But yeah, got the bike back together. You may have noticed it's a lot cleaner. I did give it another wash, and I did a few things to actually. Look at this chain. Quite proud of that. That chain was in a bad state in terms of, it's a new chain, believe it or not, and less than a year old, but the climate here is so harsh. And I think you remember me saying that a chap who had this bike before, he didn't enjoy cleaning chains. So just out of interest, I spent ages cleaning this chain. As you can see, it's in good condition. The front and the rear look like that now. But also I spent some time cleaning up the spokes of the wheels. They were awful. They were pretty, it wasn't corrosion, it was just gunk and crap that's been on the wheels and on the spokes for ages. So I spent some time going over that with a little, you know, soft nylon scrubber, and it's come out quite a treat really. So slowly polishing her up, and then now you can see the fronts. The fronts are a lot better. Also the disc, I took some time to clean the disc up, take the surface corrosion off where the disc locates on those circular pins, and then just try to clean up the spokes the best I could. Now, they're not a perfect job, but what I found is that little and often you get up on it. The next time I'll clean the bike, and you know, again, they won't be perfect, but they'll be better than what they were. You can see it's cleaner on this side as well. There's a lights, good shot of the lights there. And what I would attempt to do, they'll just get cleaner and cleaner, and I'll put polish on them, and things will progress, and the bike will slowly be in a better condition. One of the other fantastic things I found out, this bike has a Power Commander 5 in it. So a lot of people were talking about how these bikes are awful in terms of fueling, but I found that this one has got great fueling, and I was really perplexed to see why, or hear why people said the fueling was so bad. But the reason why I didn't feel that was because of the Power Commander and those Akrapovic exhausts. So really pleased about that. Getting stuck into it. So as I was saying, I cleaned the chain up, gave it a good scrub, and I'll be honest with you, I'm one of these guys that use a cardboard shield. So I put a shield between the tyre and the actual chain itself. You do not want anything on the tyre. And I use WD-40 to get a lot of the gunk and get it fluid and lubricated, and I just spray it all over, and I just rotate the chain and then give it a good scrub with the WD-40. After that, give it a pressure wash, well, a jet wash, get most of the gunk off, and then lube it again. I'm one of those people who uses WD-40. Keeping the chain rust-free is the real challenge here, and obviously lubrication is that it's a sealed O-ring chain. So there's a lot of science out there. I think Fortnite did a really good video about chains and stuff, and what's the best product. Is it paste, is it wax, is it some sort of lubricant? But WD-40's always worked for me, and it keeps everything nice and tidy. It's easy to clean off as well as apply. So I just do that, and actually, you know, every couple of weeks, giving it a once over will just keep the rust at bay and also keep the chain moving quite well. In terms of fling, because I think a lot of people are worried about the chain flinging loads of stuff over the back tyre or in the vicinity of the rear tyre, I kind of wipe it down so there's not like a load on there, but it will dry off and leave a light oil residue. It's kind of what I want. So really happy with that. I forgot to show you the lights, so let's look at the lights now. Hope you can see them quite clearly. Here we go. All right, back to the front. Here are the lights. I think you'd say that's a dramatic improvement for visibility and safety. I'm pointing them slightly downwards and sort of off to one side as not to dazzle oncoming traffic, but I'll take it outside and have a look, see how far that beam projects and how much it lights up. Let's just get the main lights on. You can see with all of that going, it's quite an improvement. So while I was undertaking all of that stuff, there's a couple of other jobs I did. I managed to fix this. If you remember, this had a tendency to flap about over sort of 80 kilometers per hour. This would talk to you, and it wasn't much fun. So what I did, I thought I needed to replace the whole lot, but actually it's a grommet that's sort of on top of the pin that was stopping the actual pin from locating in the actual Zeus fastener itself. Once I've got that trimmed down a bit, now that locks perfectly. That's fully locked and that's not going anywhere. Also, I renewed the cable ties because one of the issues with these is that the lids break and people just drill holes in them and have them cable tied on to themselves. So it still functions, and if you need to take all this off, obviously you have to cut the cable ties, but that's fine. Another good thing that I was able to accomplish while I was there is I managed to locate the seat much more securely. I replaced a lot of the screws and bolts that hold this panel down, and that holds the front of the seat, and so now that is really solid. That's not going anywhere, so pretty pleased with that. I also fitted one of these things. Oh, right, how do I do this now? Let's stick this. This is a battery tender. Right, so I got one of these. And this sort of tells you the voltage of the battery. It's got 12 volts there, and it's got a USB-C and a USB regular, and obviously an on and off switch. Again, I'd have preferred this to be switched live, so that it would turn itself off, but that's quite handy to have that, especially in emergencies. If I need to leave my phone on charge, I can do that and switch that off there. This is the switch for the lights. That's quite handy, so just it's all very good and neatly put on. I cleaned this up while I was at it. Should give that a little nip up for camera mounts and stuff. You'll see that. I'm going to bleed the brakes and the clutch fluid probably tomorrow, and yeah, because I'm going to take it out on the weekend. Going to go see some mates riding near the foothills of some mountains. So I hope you enjoyed that content, and if you did, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing perhaps, as it will help with the channel's growth and future content. On to the next adventure.